The whole premise of the first class and a half so far has been about Kaivalya being isolation, particularly from nature, but nature being twofold, manifested and unmanifested, and that twofoldness having all of these 24 cosmic principles in it, and how Kapila saw that and put it as a list. The father of yoga came along later and told you how to meditate upon it. Shankara came along later and basically told you, yes, that's the non-self, you've got it. If you meditated upon it, you should have recognized that that wasn't you. That belonged to the mind, ego, intellect complex. We call that the body-mind mechanism in Vedanta. Or another nice word is psychophysical being. And so when we say that, we're saying all this in two words. Isn't it nice? Psychophysical being. That's there. That's your three bodies, or at least two of them. Because the deep sleep body is not known to us. Nobody knows himself in deep sleep except those realized souls. And they use it as a doorway to get to samadhi. So the deep sleep state, first time it was ever studied up close for a long time was in India. Sushupti and swapna. So if you dream, you went from waking to dream, but where did you go when you disappeared? And waking and dream were not happening. When your 5 senses, your 10 senses actually were turned off, like a light switch. Who turned it off? Where was I then? And who was I then? So, as I said earlier, everyone's doing this naturally all the time. They're just not taking account of it, taking stock of it. They come back, things come dancing back in the mind out of deep sleep. They don't know that it came from seeds in their own self. And then they get attached to those things as manifestations and don't know the origin of them. Utpatti is a beautiful word in Sanskrit. Utpatti means they always sought for the origin of a thing. They weren't happy with the effect and the many effects. They went to the cause. And when they saw that cause, they saw that was the effect of another cause. And that cause, again, effect of another cause, that's involution you're doing. But you have to do it consciously. You can't just go to sleep tonight, go into deep sleep, go through dream, come back into waking, and do this over and over again for a 100-year lifetime, and then have hundreds of lifetimes like that doing it over and over again without taking stock of what's going on, of what you're not. So this first class and a half so far has been about Kaivalya and dissolution, pointing a strong finger at that and saying, see, that came out as a manifestation and you have to dissolve it. You're doing it anyway, so why not do it consciously? And be the master of yourself. But people in Buddhism don't like the self, but Buddha used it in the Dhammapada. He said, there are two selves. Who's the master? Of course, the larger self is master of the smaller self. It's right there in his earliest scriptures in the Hinayana path. So there's a small self that's masquerading all the time and taking to the self. And then there's this great self that's looking on. And Buddha got that out of the Upanishads. Let's see. Om tachnayo ravrinnimhe gatum yogyaya gatum yenupate. Let's make an offering of the small self and everything it is into the great self. And let's delight in this offering. And let's revere the Lord and Mother of all sacrifices, all the gods, all the ancestors, all the humankind, all the rishis and teachers that we've had. And all 5 levels of beings. You see, there's another 5 there, the 5 kinds of sacrifices you do. That's Tantra, basically, you're talking about. That's the Tantric side of it, anyway. It's very hard to separate Vedanta from Tantra, but because Vedanta has its worship too, but I think the best way to put that is that Buddhism and Vedanta just stay clear of the personality, the form, the ego. Let it be as it is, kind of leave it alone, and let's draw back from it and make an offering of it into the great self, as I was saying. But Tantra is not scared of it at all. Tantra just says, I'll deify it, you see, and I'll deify everything that came along with it. So Many people love the tantric path and they shy away from the non-dualism at this point. But Vivekananda said the non-dualism will be the future religion of mankind. There is no doubt about that. It'll take 900 years for it to happen, basically. It's got a shelf life, you see. And we're just in the first 100 years or so of the return of non-duality, thanks to him and his master and the mother. Because they asked her once, what are we, followers of Ramakrishna? He's like the new dispensation. We know him, but how's the world going to know him? And what are we who follow him? Just, well, he was an Advaitist, so if you follow him, you're also an Advaitist. But you're also a mother worshipper. So that's called Shakta Advaita Vada. There are like some 40 paths I found in India. I've got a chart on them, of course. And one of those is Shakta Advaita Vada. So when our founder, Lex Hickson of SRV, and I saw that path, we went, whoa, there it is, you see. That's the one that really pertains to us, you see. The followers of the new dispensation, who are all up in arms and everything about this Dharma being the only solution to the problems of the world. There is no other solution than this wisdom. You can't meditate unless you have this wisdom. You can't act unless you have this wisdom. And you can't love God as long as this wisdom hasn't gotten rid of your ignorance. Doesn't it make sense? So, nahi gyanena sadrishyam pavitram iha vidyate. In the Gita, Krishna says, he's the God of love, right? So what's he talking about? You'll never know love unless you get rid of your ignorance, he's saying. Knowledge is the supreme purifier, he says. Nahi gyanena sadrishyam pavitram, purifier, vidyate, wisdom. So to me, and what my teacher taught me, and what the Ramakrishna Order Swamis taught me as I was with them, all centered around this Jnana Yoga. So as if they're saying, in this age you better take to these teachings, because if you do, your ignorance will die. The rest will be a piece of cake. You'll be able to love God without obstructions. You'll be able to meditate without impediments. And you'll be able to do selfless service. You'll be able to dissolve the worlds of name and form, time and space, into the absolute Brahman, exit the body easily. I'll show you that in a minute. So we will crush the stars to atoms. We will unhinge the universe. Don't you know who we are? Vivekananda wrote. We are the children of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. So this is what we want to expose as the new dispensation. And just like the four padas, we'll do it, even if we have to leave it behind for posterity, because this is the only solution for the ills of this age, is the Dharma. Zen Buddhists, Tibetan Buddhists, Chinese Buddhists, they're all on the same page with this. This is what they've been trying to bring since the 70s. Each one of them had their little heyday, you see. Vedanta is still the underground river flowing, and it's coming forward. People are beginning to find it and take some of that elixir from it and become free souls, jivan muktas, and wake up from this sleep of ages. Wake up the note, the song that had its birth far off, where worldly taint could never reach, in mountain caves and glades of forest deep, whose calm no sigh for lust, wealth, or fame could ever dare to break, where rolls the stream of knowledge, truth, and the bliss that follows both. Sing high that note. Say Om Tat Sat Om. First verse, Song of the Sannyasin, Swami Vivekananda, which we've all memorized, and as long as the other 10 verses. So that's crushing the stars to atoms and unhinging the universe. None of this can stand in your way. It's all your own mental construct. Dissolve it. You can do it. The real you can do it, not the false you. The false you is all trapped in it.